Hi, everyone. It's Sarah Daniele here, the CEO and co-founder of Mydoma Studio. And today I am joined by Ashley Uhl from Ashley Uhl Consulting. Hi, Ashley.
Hi, Sarah. I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I am excited to have you here. So when advertising this, or promoting the upcoming webinar, we talk, I always say, don't miss out on this one. Don't miss out on this one. It's always so good. But this one, I was in capitals, please don't miss out on this webinar, because we're talking all about client conflict, client and designer conflict, how to manage the expectations, how to resolve the conflict. This is top of mind for designers. And so I was like, guys, don't miss this, please. We've got a lot of good nuggets of information. Yeah. So we're 103 right now. We typically give people just, 2-3 minutes to come on in and get settled so they don't miss anything.
All right.
As a reminder, if you do have questions, Ashley has said that it's perfectly fine to throw them in the Q&A, not the chat box, the Q&A, so we don't miss them. And this is going to be more of a conversation type presentation. She's got a lovely presentation to follow along with. But this is a great opportunity to ask your burning questions and get some feedback in the moment. If there's something we're talking about that's relevant and you want to learn more about, shoot those questions over in the Q&A, please and thank you. In the meantime, if you want to introduce yourselves over in the chat, we love to know where people are from. It's just always fun to see. And Ashley, where are you right now?
So I am in St. Louis.
Okay, that's right. Yes, I do remember. So
it's been about 3 months of almost consistent snow, gloomy days. It's ice. Randomly, all the schools are out today. Had no idea that this was going to happen. So yeah, it's just, I'm ready for spring. Definitely.
You and me both.
Yes.
I'm such a grump. I was saying today, walking to get my lunch. I'm like, I'm so grumpy.
I know.
I need to feel the warmth on my face, not burning from the cold.
I know, right? Yeah, just a little bit of happiness. I see there are the little tiny bits of daffodil popping out, and it's coming. It's just around the corner.
I mean, we're a little ways away from that. We have 10 feet of snow everywhere. I'm like,
oh my goodness.
They say it's going to melt quick.
Oh my goodness.
And spring is going to come like that. So.
Oh gosh. Oh
look, it's so great. Thank you for everybody for introducing yourselves. We have people from everywhere joining us. New Jersey, Caledon, Ontario, Texas, Philly, Rehab. You're just from Canada. Where in Canada? Seattle, Reno. Stacy Hernandez says that she's dealing with a lot of nothing but snow, wind and rain. I hear you. You and me, Stacey. I gotta start going somewhere warm for 3 months.
Yes.
Okay, so it's 105, and we have such a good disbursement of people right now who are responding.
Right.
All over North America. Yeah, we're literally hitting every spot. It's pretty cool. Okay, so those are just joining us. I have Ashley Uhl with me here, and today we are talking all about client and designer conflict, managing expectations, and how to deal with those conversations. So I'm going to give you a quick background on Ashley so you can just know a little bit more about her and her awesomeness. And then we're going to switch over and have her do a presentation for us. So you may not know that Ashley Uhl was an interior designer. She had a shorter career in it, but she knows you guys. So that's in her past. She previously worked for Dale Carnegie and Morgan Stanley. And she is now the owner and founder of Ashley Uhl Consulting. And she knows the incredible impact that delivering a spectacular experience can have on a business, guys. She knows this inside and out. She worked with high wealth clients. So her mission is really to help designers learn how to deliver the type of high-end service experience that allows them to increase their profits, efficiency, and client loyalty. I know there's much more. You have so much great experience. So with that, Ashley, I'm going to flip it over to you and let you, maybe chat a bit more about yourself and hop into your presentation.
Great. Yes. So like you said, I did work as an interior designer for about a year, went through a program with the New York Institute of Art and Design, and started to work with family and friends. But after a while, realized this part of the design isn't for me. I like doing our own house, but doing it for other people wasn't my real passion. And so it was my husband who came up with this idea to combine my loves. Now, client experience management, client service has always been something that I really, really loved. Really, even as a kid, as dorky as it sounds, I really have kind of always admired how it seems to somehow magically happen. A lot of times when you go to those high-end places, it is like magic. And I wondered, what is that? And so before I gave up design, my husband said, hey, why don't you combine these two and teach interior designers how to deliver a high-end experience just like you love? And so I kind of brought in the experience from Dale Carnegie, learning how to handle client relations, keep people calm in tough situations, and then the Morgan Stanley, working with high net worth clients, what their expectations are, how to gain trust in a tough environment with obviously your money, you really have to gain trust. And so kind of combined all of that, and I'm now teaching designers how to deliver that high-end service experience.
I love that. Best of both worlds. I think that's sometimes where like we get the best experts come out of it, because you're not just an interior design industry, but you're bringing a whole wealth of knowledge from other industries that are equally or more important on delivering and managing clients, right?
That's right.
So, I'm excited to see what you have to say, because this is a topic I love. Like, I find it just incredibly interesting and really relevant right now with just especially with what's happening with technology, and there's a lot of mind shift. Anyways, I'll let you do your thing.
Well, and I'm glad that you are looking forward to it, because I know that it can be something that a lot of people really aren't wanting to look. It's a scary thing, right? To have these tough conversations with people, and you can start to avoid them, and we really don't want to do that, but we'll get into that. So, all right. Can you see my screen here?
Yep.
All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So first I wanted to kind of cover some of the reasons why conflicts might be happening, even if you don't think that they should be, right? A lot of times there are misconceptions about interior designers. You see things in movies, on TV, you hear a few horror stories from friends, and so people are already creating these misconceptions in their mind before they even talk to you, meet you, and it is unfair, but it can happen. And it happens with, like, when I was working at Morgan Stanley, a lot of advisors there were dealing with the same thing. You also see a lot of misconceptions about what working with a wealth advisor is like, right? They're sleazy, you can't trust them. And so, TV kind of promotes that. And so you have to almost combat that before you even can really get your relationship started, because they come in wary, right? They have a conflict of, I know that I need help. I want an interior designer's help, but is this really a good idea? Can I trust them? What's this going to be like? So, we first just kind of want to accept that and be aware of that, because awareness is just, at least you don't feel like, I don't understand why people are always questioning me all of the time. That could be something that has nothing to do with you. They're just questioning you because they have those myths in their head.
Yeah.
So,
like prejudice, right? Or misunderstanding.
Exactly.
I talked about this today on the way to lunch, dealing with mechanics. Yeah. Right? Like you go in thinking like, this is not going to go well. And
exactly.
But why do we have that, right? So.
Right. I know. And it's a tough thing. Unfortunately, each industry that is public facing has their own set of, when you work with this industry, this is going to happen, and sometimes it does. And so that's how it keeps going, right? Because somebody tells them about somebody else, to somebody else about how that happened, and then it just keeps going. And it may be like 5 people who are blowing up everything, but it becomes then a fear of all of us. So it's important to just kind of remember that. So what we can do to combat that first is when you're online, creating your website, creating your social media presence, you want to really remember that. You want to remember that clients are a little bit wary of you. They may be afraid that you're going to judge them, come into their house and say, everything is hideous, throw it all out. I'm going to, we can't work with your budget. It needs to be triple. And sometimes, of course, people have unrealistic expectations for their budget, but they just imagine that sometimes horror story in the movies of what an interior designer is working or what it's like to work with them. So online, you want to be friendly, welcoming, talk about how you understand the things that are stressing them. You don't know, how to manage the budget, but you are able to manage the budget, things like that. So just help them relax and say, okay, this is a person that I can enjoy working with, and it's not somebody that I have to be afraid of.
Sorry, I love that. I love the telling a story of what it's like to work with you. Right?
Yeah.
You're really setting an expectation up front. You're being transparent on your process, which we always say to do.
Yes.
Leave them to guess.
That's right.
Absolutely. You're really, it sounds based on what you're suggesting here, like you're setting the tone. Right?
Yes.
So if they do have a prejudice or a misunderstanding, at least this way, hopefully you will change that, right? By putting that out.
Yeah, you're calming their fears when they see that you know what you're doing, you have a process, and like you said, you're transparent. And on your site, yes, you can just give a little snippet of, when you call us, we are always excited to talk with our clients. We're going to talk about this, and just kind of set that expectation just to help them feel more comfortable with what's coming. All of these little ways to just help ease them into the process. Some of their guards are going to go down because they see, she's a relatable person. She's organized. I can work with this, and I'm going to enjoy working with this. And then the last one, of course, be friendly in everything that you do. It sounds like duh, but sometimes it isn't. It doesn't come naturally to some people. Not that they're mean, they just, have a more serious or maybe formal way about them. But it's important to kind of, again, put those guards down at the beginning, just to smile. These are very Dale Carnegie things, right? That we always talked about, like, it's important to smile. Remind yourself to smile, to be friendly and open and welcoming. Don't be disingenuous or cheeseball-y, but just, present yourself as a friendly person to help get things going well.
Yeah. I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does seem so simple, but it is important. And sometimes you do just have to remind yourself, oh, smile, Yeah.
When I'm thinking about things and working,
Right. Right. Your face, is contorting into all of these different ways, and the client is assessing, oh, why does she look like that? So it's just important. Yeah,
I think I get that.
Yeah. So it's just a simple thing. Years ago, actually, even when I was at Dale Carnegie, I was talking with my boss about, I don't even remember what I wanted to do, but I wanted something. And he was like, I really don't think this is a good idea. And I was like, oh, okay. And I smiled, and he was like, okay, let's go ahead and do it. I was like, all I had to do was smile. Wow, this stuff really does work.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So to move on to the next point, yes, trust issues definitely are prevalent on both sides. The designer, of course, is also very justified in being wary of clients as well, right? You want to make sure you're always looking out for red flags. You're screening people to make sure this is somebody that you want to work with. Are they going to be paying you on time? Are they going to be running off and you don't hear from them for a long time? So understandably, both sides are afraid. So one of the things that really helps is making it abundantly clear, this is how you work, right? And you want to be talking about that even on the screening call. You don't have to go super in depth to what your process is, but you do at least want to let them know so they can decide already, am I on board with this process or not?
Yeah. Do I feel comfortable? Do I trust this?
Exactly. Right. So that's just kind of one hump, and people like to be in a process. Everybody likes somebody that's, organized. They have a clear-cut way of going through things. And so you can lessen fears on both sides. If you see, yes, this client is on board with this, and the client sees, yes, this designer has a process, they're going to start already getting more comfortable. And the last thing is something to say what you'll do and do what you say. This is something that I constantly talk about. It is something that's very simple, but it really is so effective. You want to give a timestamp to everything that you do as much as possible. So let's say you have your voicemail. Somebody calls and leaves you a voicemail. You want to have your voicemail greeting. Hi, this is Jennifer from whatever design. Thanks so much for calling. I'm going to be giving you a call back by the end of the business day. And then you make sure to do that, right? Or if you have a meeting, you say, I'm going to send you a summary of our meeting in the next 2 hours. And then you make sure to do that. I'm going to get this to you by Thursday morning. And so you're just over and over again, you're going to say what you're going to do, and then you make sure that you do what you said.
I love that. I mean, it's so powerful. I mean,
it
keeps
is
accountable, and it's transparent. It makes reduces fears for the client, makes them feel comfortable, and I think it ultimately builds trust.
Absolutely.
Right? Even if it's as simple as something like, I will call by the end of the day. Okay, this person called. Right? When they're contacting 3 other designers and maybe they haven't heard back yet, they're like your prices could come in more, but the fact that you simply just called when you said you'd call, and at least that holds a lot of weight for me. And I think about that when I work with different services, on how, manage it. Yeah, do what you say, say what you'll do and do what you say.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it really is, like you said, in your own experiences, when you're working with other businesses, it really does automatically set them apart, right? And it really isn't a lot of businesses who do this. So a lot of businesses, first of all, they won't even say what they're going to do. They don't want to set that promise up for themselves, so they don't get themselves into that spot. But it is important to do it because, like you said, it is a very quick way to start gaining trust with somebody, because you are showing, I am a person of my word if it's with the small things. Imagine what it's going to be like when it's the big stuff, right? I'm giving you over so many months, maybe $100,000, right? So I have to make sure that I am going to give $100,000 to somebody who is very trustworthy, who is going to do what they say. And this is a very quick way to do it. And then just do it over and over and over and over again. Like you said, you keep yourself accountable too. All right, so we will move on. So, okay, now project control. I know that this can be tough, and a lot of designers can struggle with this. Even higher end designers that I've talked to, they're working on whole house projects, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're still struggling to maintain project control. So there can be a few things going on here. So first, if the client does start take control, they may see that you're not confident, right, in your ability to manage it well. So it could be things like if they start to try and negotiate too many things and you're willing to, they can really start to say, oh, I can push them a lot here, right? And they can start to push more and more and more. They think everything is negotiable now, and they start to take the lead. So it's important, if you're willing to negotiate, that's up to you as the designer, but you don't want it to become standard practice, right? For all of your business. All of your business is not negotiable, right? And so, but if you start to let it, then that can happen. Morgan Stanley, again, the advisors who started to make all of their fees negotiable, then they started to really cut in their profits. The client starts saying, oh, I think we need to start investing this way or that way. And that's really not what you are there for, right? That person needs to be in control. So you need to make sure that not everything is negotiable. So next, clients need to definitely know what to expect. So that is making sure that they know what your process is, what your updating schedule is, all of these things, the issues that can come through. You want to let them know in every way that you can think of what to expect when working with you. You really want to, I always encourage designers to write their design process down on a piece of paper and put a simplified version on their site and also give it to them with the contract and walk through the process with them just as you would walk through the contract, walk through the process with them like you would walk through the contract. Hopefully you are walking through the contract with them, because I know some people don't, but you do want to walk through both of those with them to make sure that there aren't any questions, that their expectations aren't very different than reality, because that's where a lot of problems can come from when when expectations and reality are very far from each other.
I'll let you do part D before I jump in.
Okay. Actually, and let's touch on C. I just got a little notification. It says my connection is unstable. Can you still see and hear me?
Yeah, it's fine. Okay. I think it temporarily froze a little bit for like half a second, but we could hear you fine.
Okay. Yeah. So yes. So this one, if clients want to, if they start to reach out and ask a lot of questions, there's definitely a gap in your system. So you should be letting clients know what's happening rather than the other way around. If clients are asking you what's going on with a project, there's a problem, right? It means that maybe they don't know when to expect for you to update them. Maybe they don't know when to expect a bill. Maybe they don't know where they are in the process. So if they start asking you a lot of questions, it means there's a gap somewhere, and you need to find out what that gap is, especially if in the same part of your process, lots of clients are asking those. It means, okay, in this part of my process, I have an issue and I need to put something in place there to fix that gap. So yes, you want to not really be having a lot of questions coming at you, like after meetings and you're back in your office and they follow up with you. It means they weren't informed about something and they need to be. You need to make sure that's part of your process. So it's preventative rather than reactive. So, and then, we'll move on to D. It's important to set clear boundaries and in a friendly way on how you work with clients. So this is, you have to kind of let them know, again, in a friendly way, that what we do here is this is full service design, if that's what you do, and we are going to take the lead on this. We don't have clients shop us, right? And this is our job. We're here to take all of that stress, that pressure, all of that worry from you. So, clients I know are always interested in finding the right price for everything. That's what our job is here. We are here to not just spend your budget however we want. We are here to use it as effectively and efficiently as possible. So you do want to set those boundaries on what clients are allowed to do when they work with you, because that can also become a source of conflict where the designer sometimes can assume that the client knows that they shouldn't do that and the client doesn't really see the problem. And so you do need to just kind of have that conversation beforehand so they at least are aware of these are the expectations of how we work.
Yep. I love all this stuff. I always say it's you got to be proactive instead of reactive. And
right.
The way you say it, friendly way, set your boundaries. It's also important for them. Okay, let's, I would do the thing where, do you want to accept text messages? Do you not? That's a way to set boundaries. But then on the flip side, let's say you are dealing with a high wealth professional customer and you started texting them this order is on its way. Maybe they wouldn't like that either. So, right? It's two-sided when you're setting boundaries, because we don't know, we set them in a way that we're oh, okay, these are all the things, and maybe clients will or will not like that, but they might respect it too, right? You gotta think maybe clients don't want to have information sent that way to them. Maybe they do want a meeting once a week, and maybe they are happy with it. It's fine if it's in video or in person, or at least they get a summary, right? Setting those boundaries, I think, is just super important. Prevents conflict from coming up.
Yes, I totally agree. I have a neighbor who worked with a designer, and her biggest complaint was that her designer was texting her multiple times every day saying, what about this product? What about that product? And it drove her insane. And her husband was like, I can't deal with this, So yes, absolutely respecting both people and what they want and doing things in an efficient way. You definitely don't want either person to just kind of be taking over somebody's life. It needs to be, okay, this is, a normal relationship like anything else. like a wedding planner. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine like a bride calling her all times of the day, right? So you don't want that kind of a relationship. You want to be, yes, maintaining a professional relationship where there are very clear boundaries, like you said, on both sides. Such a good point.
Yeah.
All right. So we touched on this a little bit before. So yes, you want to always share your clearly defined process, but you also want to share your progress. And I know this is something that my Doma does, right? Where you have those, like a progress bar, basically, where you let people know where you are within the process. Because definitely people can get a little bit irritated if they don't know where they are. If you know what the progress is, but they don't, again, irritation and frustration can come out of that. They're paying a lot of bills and they're saying like, I don't see anything. My room looks exactly the same, yeah, right? But I have paid so much. What'd you say?
I said, yeah, they don't know where you're at in the actual project. Or for me, it's really about like, with my Doma, we want to make sure that you give the transparency, assuming that's where you want to work with your client. So it's things like, yeah, they can see their contract at any time. They have access to all the messaging. It's all in one place. You know, seeing where files have been uploaded and which ones have been approved. So it's like, you're also putting ownership on them. You're saying, look, like you approved this drawing on this set day. This is why we're moving forward on this, right? Like ownership and transparency, I think it's all, you know, yeah. I'll ramble.
Yes, I so agree, because you do, the client has to do work themselves as well, right, in this process. And so they need to know what is expected of them for what phase they are in, right? And then also what is expected of you, and, you know, how you're bringing this throughout each phase, and that you are making progress. And it's not just, this is all money going where, right? You want to see where that money is going. So, you know, and to that point, you don't want to be shy about letting the client know that you are working hard for your money. You know, you want to let them know. And I always recommend kind of, you can give a summary. If you're updating your client every Friday, let's say you send them an email, every Friday morning, you get a breakdown of what that progress has been made throughout that week. You can give a summarized, but you can also give more detailed notes. You know, even if you keep your own Excel spreadsheet, you can let them see some of that and let them know, this is all I'm doing for you, right? I'm not here to just pick out pretty pillows, which sometimes people try to insult interior designers like that, right? That you're just here to pick out the frilly stuff. Why am I paying these who don't do any real work? Interior designers do an insane amount of work, and it's so much that's behind the scenes though, you know, and that's where some of that frustration can come from. So letting them know, these are the things that we're taking care of, not in a, look, I am working hard. It's just, wow, this is all the progress that we've made. She really is working so hard. Absolutely, she deserves these fees.
Yeah, I think I got the saying right, you hit the nail on the head. That's so perfect. Really about like, I don't think you need to like, it's a fine line. Like, you don't need to justify your worth, but you need to explain what you're doing, right? Because you got to imagine what the client feels like on the other end. Like, okay, they just pay a big invoice. Maybe they haven't heard from you in a week, 2 weeks. Like I had like a business partner, someone I work with, and she ran into this with renovating her kitchen. Like, no, she went away, her and her husband went away to Japan on a vacation, assuming that the kitchen was being done. And when they came back, it wasn't. And there was like major miscommunication. I'm like, I would be livid. Like they timed it on purpose, right? To have this renovation complete. And can you imagine home and like the cabinet installer quit mid-job? Nobody updated her. Like nobody, like, and this is like a high-end firm. It's like, guys, like that's a big mess up. Like you need to, like, again, stuff happens, but like update the client. Let them know, right? Like explain. So that's a little bit over the top of an example, but even if it's something is like you're waiting for a permit to come back. Okay, so I'm not billing you for hours this week, but here's what's happening. There hasn't been a lot of progress because I'm waiting for a permit. And when that permit comes back, here's what you can expect. We've scheduled, you know, we're a week behind because the city's backed up, whatever. And so we're going to start your project back on track in a week when we get that permit back. You know, I mean, it's just all about updating, right? So they're not sitting in the dark waiting.
Right, absolutely. Because they are understandably out of control in this situation, and they should be. That's, you know, your job as the lead, but they do need to let them know that things are in control and just where you are in the progress.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, and one of these things that you can do to kind of let them know, other than just these long updates every week, you can do things like if it's a whole house project and it's going to take a long time, I always recommend, right, the before and after pictures. But if it's, incremental progress, still you can be taking, like with a kitchen, right? Some of it may be coming in slowly. And so you want to be making sure that you take these incremental pictures and so you can show them, see, right? We started here, now we're here, and we're going to go here next, just to kind of remind them that things are moving along. And it's just fun. You don't have to present it like you're mad, but here you go. I show you that we have made progress. You can just do it as a fun little share. Like, I know it can be frustrating, but here's a fun photo to let you know how far we've gone already.
Yeah, and I think, again, it's so clear there. Like, make it fun, be happy, be friendly, right? Like, it's not like I'm showing this to you because I'm expected to. No, hey, right. It's exciting. Mudding was done. May not look that beautiful yet, but this normally takes 3 to 5 days, and this is all done now and sanded, and we're getting ready to start installing cabinetry, right? So, I mean, like, those are exciting updates, and that shows them that you're making progress.
Right. Yeah. And who doesn't love a good before and after, right? It's why everybody watches HGTV all the time. It's like you can go through the whole thing, just fast forward it, boom. Oh, wow, that after is great.
Yeah, it's true.
So, and for longer ones, also I recommend, if you have a long time to wait before where you're ordering and you're installing and all that stuff, you're, a 6-month project, I always think it's a great idea to kind of take the client out to lunch and give them more in depth as well, not just through emails and stuff. So just kind of get an idea of how they're feeling and just reassure them this is going well, and just continue to kind of connect with them and further develop the relationship.
Very smart.
All right. So now when you do have an issue with a fee or charge, how do you do that? So again, we want to always lay the foundation of expectations before the conflict occurs. You want to take plenty of time to explain how you charge and what your contract is. Every designer charges differently, and clients probably don't understand any of it, right? It's confusing. And so you want to make sure that clients are really, really understanding what you're charging for. If you charge hourly, you even should be giving them examples of what some of those charges would look like, things that might surprise them. Like if you are fixing a mistake that maybe a plumber had, you want to let them know these are still things that we charge for because that's part of the project management system that we have here with you. So we do charge for, overseeing, making sure that mistakes are corrected, all of that. The things that might surprise them, it's better to let them know beforehand than after when they're angry. So also you want to let clients know when to expect their bills. You want to have this be a regular thing. You don't want to shock them and say, whoa, didn't know this bill was coming and it's huge. You want to let clients know when to expect their bills. It really kind of helps to ease it. And you can even let clients know as well the more expensive phases, right? Okay, now we're going to go into the more expensive phase for my designer fees, right? Obviously now we've ordered things, so the rest of the deposit is going to be due in this time. Just kind of preparing clients for when the financial burden is coming always helps to ease that pain that's coming. And then again, like we talked about, just let clients know how hard you work. So you want to set all those expectations up before anything happens. Now, when a conflict occurs, what do? So you first want to, like we said at the very beginning, address it immediately and directly. I know there's a tendency to not want to deal with it. Understandably, who wants to walk into a fire? But the faster you take care of it, the better it is. Because if you're slow, they're going to get more and more angry.
Well, think of it like a fire. The fire is going to grow.
Exactly.
Take care of it.
Right. Absolutely. And directly. So you don't want to just address it via email. It's easier for you, but it can, again, fuel that fire more. You want to take it at least on the phone if it's a smaller issue that they have with the charge, or if it's a bigger issue, you can even set up a meeting and talk through something with them, because they're going to get irritated if you just send off an email and they are like, okay, that's really irritating. I'm upset about this, and you're just emailing me something flippant, and I don't feel like you're really hearing me. So you want to take it directly, and definitely don't put it off on your assistant, which again, it may be something that you want to do. Maybe they won't, come back at her like they will at me, but it's not fair to the assistant, and it could actually make the situation worse as well. So once we get through that, once you call them up, you want to just listen to them fully and let them get it all out. And this is very hard, right? If they are irritated with you, that you've charged them for something and they don't think that it's fair, if you just say, let me know, go ahead and tell me everything that you're irritated about, what's concerning you, and then you just let them go, they might get mad to the point where they start insulting or saying things that aren't fair. As hard as it is, I do recommend just letting them go. Because if you start fighting back, then it's a fight, right? And so you want to let them go until they run themselves ragged, basically. And sometimes they can end up coming around themselves and saying, okay, thank you for letting me get that all out. I appreciate it. I shouldn't be so hard on you. You have done a great job, right? And they may still have questions or be confused, but if you let them really get it all out and let them just, whatever issue it is, go and go and go and go, they oftentimes will calm themselves down. And it can even be over with that. But once they are done, you want to validate their feelings. Sounds very therapeutic, right? Like something a psychiatrist would say, you want to validate their feelings. But it is important to just say, absolutely, I understand why this is very frustrating, or whatever sort of word that they use. Like, I'm mad, I'm irritated, this is frustrating. I understand that this is very frustrating and irritating. If I were in your position, I would feel very frustrated too. So just letting them know, even if you think that they are wrong, you can still try to understand why they're feeling that way and let them know.
That's awesome.
Okay, then state your point gently. So when you are going to move into stating your point about why you think the fee is justified, of course, do it indirectly and gently, and you can refer back to your policies. So I really, understand your point. This is very frustrating, and it is very irritating to have a charge where the plumber made a mistake and I'm charging you for me to oversee it. It is our standard policy to do that, as my position is to make sure that all the work that's done by the tradespeople is up to the level of quality that I know that you want and that I expect out of them too. So that is what our standard policy is. All right, so you're not pointing fingers, you're not telling them you're an idiot, whatever it may be. You're just letting them know gently, this is our policy. I do understand, but this is our, what we're going to stick with. So if they start to push back again, you can kind of roll back around to validating their feelings and just saying, yes, I do understand. This is very upsetting. Now, what do you do if they make demands for you to reverse the charge? Okay, so unfortunately, there's no hard and fast rule on what do you do, right? If somebody says, like, I need you to reverse this charge, you need to cover this, whatever, there isn't just a very, okay, if it's kind of cut into your profits, then, this much, don't do it. If it's going to be this, there's no exact rule. You just have to consider the repercussions. How important is the client to you? How big is the project? How justified is the client in being irritated with this? So you do have to kind of just go through all of that and really put yourself in their shoes and try to think about that for a minute and consider what you can do. So, there is, like I said, unfortunately, there's no hard and fast rule, but you do just have to at least try to think about it from their perspective. What would you expect if this was you? And just kind of work through that. Now, if what they ask isn't viable, but they do ask for something crazy, it is okay to go back or to say, I'm going to have to check and see if this is possible, and give them, I'll get back to you in 24 hours, because maybe what they want is ridiculous, but you don't want to just come out and say no, because then they can get mad again and you're just going to start looping back around. You can say, I'm going to have to go and check and see if that's possible, right? And whatever you do, you go and look at your profits, you see what your fees are. Maybe you can't do that, but you're still able to go back and say to them, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do that. And you can also give them an alternative. But what we can do is, in the future, if this kind of thing happens, we are going to let you know beforehand. A mistake has been made, a charge is coming, whatever your alternative is. But it's okay to ask for more time, and then actually really do work on it and come back to them and just say, unfortunately, we can't. Just try not to say the word no, because that does get people irritated again.
Yeah, shuts it down really quick.
Right, exactly. All right. Do we have any questions or anything that we should address?
Nope, not right now. I'm keeping an eye on it. I think everybody's probably absorbing everything you are saying, because
okay.
So good.
All right. So now we're going to move on to how to handle project issues. So a lot of it is similar, but there are a few key differences. So again, you want to lay the foundation of expectations. Always easiest to control issues before they occur. And so you want to be letting clients know really at least 2 times. So I always say, if it's going to be full service design in your in your initial consultation, you want to be letting them know this is some of the issues that could come up. These are some of the setbacks and challenges, right? And then again, when you're about to go into that next phase. So, when you're measuring and photographing and the tradespeople are coming to measure and photograph and make bids, there probably aren't going to be any real issues, right? The issues start when the renovations are starting, when things are coming in and there's deficiencies, there's a back order. So you want to warn people again before you start moving into those phases, just as a quick reminder, hey, this is the point where things could start to go, wrong a little bit. But I am here to handle it. And you want to let clients know how you do handle those issues, right? And you want to use words like quickly, efficiently, and systematically, because that everybody, right, puts their guard down. Oh, okay, she's going to be on top of it. I understand that things can go wrong, but she is here to take care of them quickly, efficiently, and systematically. She knows how to do it. It's her job. And this isn't something that I have to worry about. So you definitely want to let that simmer before you move into that phase. And so we already covered the remind clients there will be issues as you start to enter. Okay, so how to handle an issue when it arises. So when possible, you want to fix it first if it's a small issue. So if it's something small, of course, just handle it. You can let the client know later. You don't want to wait on the client. If it's something that really isn't going to affect the outcome of the entire project, just handle it right away. But when it's a big incident, you want to gather all the information and the possible solutions before speaking to the client, if that's possible. So if you're not able to get in touch with a vendor or a tradesman or something like that, after 24 hours when you find out, you do want to let the client know, but whenever you can, try to get as much information and possible solutions that you can brainstorm before you ever get to the client, because the client's going to want to know what's next, right? So if the client is irritated, again, you want to let them vent. You're going to have to let them go in that circle of anger again until they can come back around. And again, validate their feelings, let them know it's totally understandable. I would feel the same way too. Now, this is also a hard part, is apologizing no matter whose fault it is. A lot of people really don't want to apologize for something if it wasn't their fault, right? Maybe it was your assistant's fault. Maybe it was the tile guy's fault. Whoever's fault it was, they're going to blame you because you're the lead. And so you do have to take ownership of that, because you are the lead, right? Even if it wasn't your direct fault, they are going to expect an apology. Like if you go to a restaurant and something was delivered and you have hair in your soup, the waiter didn't probably do that, right? It was whoever put that soup in that bowl, their hair fell in. But that waiter still needs to apologize. And literally, sometimes when we are at restaurants and something happens, my husband just waits. He's like, are they going to apologize for this or not? And then they don't. And he will say, I just wish they would say, I'm sorry. And sometimes that's all people want, right? It's just, I'm sorry. So it is an important piece to remember, to apologize. And then you want to share your solutions and the timing. So, I'm so sorry that this has happened. I know that it's so frustrating. You're so excited about the design, and I am too. So what we're going to do is I'm going to contact our workroom. I know that maybe a fabric was put on backwards. This is extremely frustrating because now it's going to be pushing everything back. I have to order the fabric again, but I have already contacted the workroom and the upholstery company, and they're going to be sending it. They're going to rush it. We're going to be covering that. And as soon as that comes in, the workroom is going to be putting that at the very beginning of their list. That's going to be their first priority, right? So share those solutions. And if you don't have the solutions, though, on hand, give them a time when you can get back to them. So I have contacted them. I'm still waiting for them to return my call, but I'm going to give you a call back 2 days from now. Let's say it's a Tuesday. I'm going to give you a call back on Thursday by 4 p.m. and let you know what our next steps are. So again, you're doing that, say what you'll do and do what you say. So to let them know you are on top of it, you're not going to just let this go, that you are there to follow this through. Now, if it's a problem that creates an overall issue in kind of their living situation, you can share a temporary fix. So let's say that they are having a party, a dinner party, and they were going to also be using their living room, and a sofa has maybe a huge nick on one of the legs. What do? Well, can you swap the legs out, right? Make sure that that front one now goes to the back so nobody can see it. Or if they really wanted some pillows for a party and they aren't available because maybe that fabric didn't come through, it was delivered to the wrong place, whatever, is there something that you can do? Can you go to a retail store and find something else? Try to do whatever you can to create that temporary fix. This is the real area where you can start to hit a home run, right? When you start coming up with solutions to address a problem right now, as well as in the future, they start to go, wow, she really is taking care of this. It's irritating, yes, but she is taking full control and full responsibility. And this is where people start to say, I'm never going to work with anybody else. Issues are always going to happen, but she knows what she's doing, and I don't want to trust anybody else with a mistake. So yes, sharing that temporary fix can really start to bring home all of that wow. And you want to absolutely follow through to the end. You don't want to make sure, you want to make sure that that ball is not dropped, right? Let's say you ordered something else for them and then you're just going to have it sent straight through to their house. Maybe it's something retail that you're just going to send straight through. You want to make sure that that delivery was actually made to their liking. You don't want to just say, okay, I've done my job, now I'm out of it. You want to make sure that everything has completely been resolved. So, like I said, resolving issues well can make clients really love you that much more. A couple of weeks ago, we went to a restaurant, and what we saw online, my husband had looked at the restaurant menu. He's a foodie and was super excited. We took his mom there for a birthday breakfast, and when we got there, the menu was basically 6 things, and he was embarrassed, and it was literally $12 for a bowl of Honey Nut Cheerios. And so I know we couldn't believe it. We didn't know what happened. And so my husband, who was very nice about it, just talked to the waitress and said, I just don't understand what happened. The menu said this online, but reality is very different. And we brought my mom here, and this is just a little bit disappointing. And so that waitress, who we later found out was the manager, did such an incredible job. My husband was completely blown away, and she actually gave him his card and was like, every time you come back, please let me know. She brought us all of this stuff. People started ordering custom eggs Benedict. She did this like $15 free, it's called like bacon on a clothesline. She gave us 2 of them where you like light it on fire, and it's this elaborate thing. And she really just went above and beyond, and we were all blown away. And it went from, wow, we hate this place, to that is amazing. She really just hit this so well and did so much more than we were expecting.
And you know what I find so interesting about situations like that are, like, off the top of your head, how many times do you think you've told that story to family and friends?
Right, exactly. And you just keep going back and back. Yeah, and absolutely. This is when people do start to share those stories. And a lot of times the stories that we share are when a situation went wrong and someone was amazing and how they fixed it.
Yeah, because people like to share the good stuff, right?
Exactly.
I'll give a really quick one. I want to keep an eye on our time. On cars again. So we had our car fixed, I don't know, in the fall. And I hate going to mechanics. And got a quote for, I think it was $1,500. And I was like, oh man, all this stuff has to be done. Okay, fine, just do it. And so they did, and they ended up having to keep it longer. And I was like, well, it's kind of a big inconvenience. But they were like, I'm sorry, like we have to keep it overnight. Like we couldn't get this piece off. I'm like, and they were kind enough to show me on the car, like what piece. And I was like, okay, fine. So this is the way it is. We'll figure out arranging vehicles and everything else, like first world problems anyways. So that's fine. We get the car the next day. They're really polite. They showed us the piece again, and we paid the invoice and went on our way. And they did their follow-up call, which mechanics never do, probably like 48 hours later. And they asked us, like, how's the car running? Da-da-da. And I said, it's perfect. It's great. Thanks so much. Went on our way and, told people how great the experience was. I think about a month later, I get another call back. And they're like, okay, how's the car? And I'm like, oh, it's still really good. And they're like, oh, we just want to let you know, Miss Daniela, that we're going through our invoices, and we actually invoiced you for a part that we didn't put on your vehicle. And we'd like to issue you a refund. So we sent a check in the mail. What mechanic does that? It was like, I don't know, $150 or something. But I'm like, what? Like, I had no idea. Right. And so they had it in inventory. They didn't install it. And sure enough, a check came to my house and thank you for your business. Do you know how many people I've told that story to?
Yes, right? Absolutely.
I'm like, they could have been totally lying and now they just got my business. But the story was so good and they built so much trust, even though like the first half of the experience wasn't great. So I was like, oh, you really inconvenienced me not having this done on time like you said it would be. And now I need to arrange other rides and pick people up and, but that didn't matter because I was like, well, you outdid yourself by doing the follow-up. Right. And another call. And then above and beyond, you honor something. Right. I had no idea. I wouldn't have known. I've long paid for that invoice. Like, right? But it's like icing, right? And you're like, really now I tell everybody, I'm like, need a mechanic? I trust these people.
Yeah, absolutely. Because who doesn't want to work with somebody who's incredibly honest and will go back and fix something that, like you said, you had no idea? That is amazing. Man, I wish I lived by you and I can't.
Like in the miserable cold, so.
Oh gosh. I have another one that I share on my blog post, and I tell people this literally happened to me like 10 years ago. So I don't know, Canada, do you have Panera?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yep. So I went to Panera like 10 years ago and I had gotten their mac and cheese. I never get it because it's super fatty, but it's amazing. And so I had let myself get it one time and I went back to sit down and eat it, and it was cold and hard. And I was like, what is this? So I go back and I say, oh, is there a way that you could heat it up for me or something? And so the guy literally goes, nope. When I give it to you, I can't take it back. There's a microwave over there. And I was like, say what? Like, I have to go and fix this for you? You got to be kidding me. So I go and sit back down, and the girl who I had ordered it from, who wasn't even in the same area, somehow she had heard what happened, came over and said, did he tell you to microwave it and that it was cold too bad? And I was like, yeah, but it's okay. I'm just going to eat it. And she was like, absolutely not. I am going to go and get you a new one. She came back with it double in size, warm, and it was like she had nothing to do with it after that point. She helped me order, and then it wasn't her responsibility, but she took control of it. It was, again, like you said, I'm telling this story still 10 years later.
Yeah, right?
Yes, writing the situation can win you huge, huge bonus points. Go ahead.
That reminds me of, and then we're just getting close to 2, but I think everybody's still here and listening, so it's good. I don't know if you're familiar with this with Disney. hopefully I get this right. It's not my, what did they say? Not, oh man, now I just messed it up. They talk about like, oh, it's not my responsibility, but it is my problem.
Oh,
So
I love that.
And that really like resonated with me. I'm like, that is so good. And as designers, right? Like, okay, so putting in the plumbing isn't my responsibility, but it is my problem, and I'm gonna fix it, right? And I think like if we keep remembering that it's, you know, it's really good, because like if you go to Disney, apparently,
I gotta write that down.
Anything, and if they don't know it, they'll go find it for you, because like, but it is their problem. So you ask them. So now it's my problem.
Right. That is.
I'll let you keep going, and I'll try to like just a little bit, so we mind everybody's time. And
so this really is the end. So so just to end the mistake. Sometimes, you know, if you want to end the mistake with an extra gift, that's always great too. Like, you know, the waitress at a restaurant came out with all of this like extra free food, this expensive bacon. It can really be, again, that cherry on the top, but you want to make sure that the problem is completely resolved before you do that, because you don't want it to just be like, oh, here's a gift, sorry, and then just kind of go on your way. You want to make sure that first priority one is to fix it, and then you can send a gift.
Love that, because you also need to make sure that you, like, if it is a problem in your process, right? Like, let's say it is our fault. We did, you know, like, 1, fix it for the client, 2, fix it for yourself, and going forward. Like, these are all important things. Don't just like throw a gift at it and make it go away, and then the same problems come back, and it comes back maybe tenfold, right? A much bigger, more expensive issue that you could have addressed by fixing something in your process.
Right. So true. Yes. I always say, whenever you have an issue, I want designers to keep a log of them, because like you said, it's not just that one time. You need to blow it up and say, is this a bigger issue with my entire process? Have I not informed somebody? Is there something that I need to check on somebody more often, or make things, you know, a form more clear? Whatever it may be, you really need to be a detective and blow up each problem you have. Even if, like, I have a designer who will come back and say, just wanted to ask this question. I go, oh, that was a fault of mine, right? Somehow I didn't make something clear enough. Now I got to go back to my process and make sure that I'm making it more clear for people what I do in this phase, or whatever it may be. So yeah, every issue you have, go back and see how you can prevent it the next time.
I love that. So I want to just open it up. If anybody has any other questions, you can use the Q&A. Got Ashley for a couple more minutes. And while I wait for some of those to come in, Ashley's going to be on Luann Nigara's podcast on March 8th. Yes. So if you want to get a little bit more of her and all of awesomeness, that's airing on Friday, March 8th, correct?
Right. Yes. Yeah. Next Friday. Yeah.
Perfect. And she also has a really great, what would you call it? Like a summary that we're sending out with this.
Yes. So I do have a summary, like you said, of the entire thing. It's a really great reference for you to go back and see, you know, what are some of these points. And I give, you know, a little bit of detail as well to kind of give you a reminder of what we talked about.
I read through it before. I was like, this is gold. So everybody who registered for today's webinar, they're going to be getting a copy of that along with a recording of today's webinar. So a couple questions. Do you bill hourly for solving problems you didn't create?
Okay, so that's an interesting question. Okay, do you bill hourly? So, I mean, that really is up to you, you know, how you want to bill. You just have to set that expectation from the beginning and let them know how you handle a mistake. But if it is a mistake that is yours, of course you don't want to be billing for that, right? Now, if it's like the plumber that made a mistake, then yes, you know, that I do think that's part of your job. If you are already billing hourly, then yes, go ahead, you know, but if you're doing a different system, like if you have a fixed fee or something like that, then that's just part of how you're working. And then you could take time from, you know, however many hours you've allotted for that. I think that's fine. But yes, as long as the problem isn't something you or your firm specifically caused, then I do think that it's okay for you to bill however to fix issues. Is that's part of your job, right? That's what you're doing as a project manager.
That's right. another question, how do you charge for a client that texts you unexpectedly with questions? And how do you capture this in your agreement with your client?
Okay. So I wouldn't text or I wouldn't charge right off the bat because the client might not know. But you want to set that expectation, and in your welcome packet, you can have like a simple how we work and let clients know that we work all by phone and email and in-person meetings, right? That we don't text. Texting isn't our policy, as it's very hard to follow through with, we have this long line of text to go through and search it again, and it's not an efficient way to use your money, really. So set that expectation, and if possible, you don't want to give your cell phone out. Some people might find that very difficult. If you're doing a site visit and you need to call somebody, right? You need to call the client. They're going to get your cell phone number. But as much as possible, you really don't want to be sharing that because it can become very invasive. And then they don't know where that line is to stop. Because it's like, oh, well, she texted me once, so then I can text her. So you also have to make sure that you aren't the one who starts it. Right? And then say, why are they texting me? Well, if you started it, then they think it's okay. So yes, you do need to address that, I think, from the beginning. Don't do it right away. If you haven't addressed the client, and even if you have, if the client's texting you and you've already addressed it, just say, hey, just a reminder, we don't, part of the way that we work is we don't text. We don't find it a really great way to capture what you need and efficient use of your money. So in the future, I would really appreciate if you could just let me know your concerns by phone or email and just take care of it like that.
Yeah. And there are some great services out there like VoIP, like voice over IP, that you can do and get apps for your cell phone. So the calls can actually come into your cell phone. So you could create another phone number for the business, and you can set up separate lines. So that way you could have billing or like general inquiries, and maybe it's just you, but they don't need to know necessarily. And it could help distinguish who's calling about what too, because it will come into your phone and it'll say things like, there is a call for Ashley. And
gotcha. That is a great idea.
And they're not overly expensive, and then you're not having to give out your cell phone if you don't want to.
Right.
Yeah. Well, with that, I think we're going to wrap up here because we're a full hour. We did it. Good job. This is amazing content. Thank you. I think everybody who attended is going to have, I've got one more question. So I'm just going to wrap up and say thank you, because I think it's great content, and they are going to pretty much be sitting and absorbing this and rewatching it. And I'm sure you'll get some inquiries, some more questions as people sit here and think about more about client and designer conflict. Yeah. Okay, so last question, guys. So is there a scope creep with your client, and at what point do you address this? Do you add it to the agreement with the changes and additional fees, or create an entirely new contract with a change of scope of work?
So yes, I would say as soon as that happens, I know it's a funny thing because I know scope creep can be a bad thing, but it really is a good thing, right? They want to work with you more. They really like what you're doing. So try to at least see it a little bit in a good way. But I know it can be irritating where they're just trying to tack some stuff on. And so I would say, just let them know as soon as, can you also start doing this? And just let them know, absolutely, we can do that, right? But yes, we're going to have to, whatever way you work, start tacking on more hours, and we're going to start billing for that as well. And kind of start mid-project with them on it, if that's something that you can do, or tackle it at the end and just kind of talk to them whatever's easiest for you as the designer, if you're capable of taking that on right now or later, and then talk to them. If you don't have a preference, talk to them about it, but let them know as soon as that starts to happen. Again, address it proactively and just let them know, yes, there are additional fees. Let's talk about it. So it doesn't become scope creep unless you let it become scope creep, right?
It can be increased revenue and a bigger
exactly right. So yeah, I always think, from a designer standpoint, sometimes they do get irritated, but really is, like you said, it's increased revenue. It's something to be excited about. The client isn't necessarily just asking you to do this for free. They just enjoy you and what you're doing. So just let them know, okay, this is how we're going to move forward if you want to add this.
And I think to that point, you can also look at adding in like an amendment to your contract if you don't want to do a full contract. Just add it in writing, right? So they don't turn around and then dispute those charges or the extra hours. You know, it can be relatively simple, right?
Yeah.
The additional work that we're adding in, here's the expectation of timeline, costs, et cetera, et cetera. Sign on the dotted line and make sure that's saved. And then that way you've got something to stand on in case they come back and say, well, I didn't want to pay the extra $10,000 for this. You know?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And you can even add that into your first one, just letting clients know if in the middle of this project, you do want this, this is what our procedure is, you know, just again, setting those expectations.
Love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. And
thank you.
Look forward to hearing your podcast on Friday.
Yes, me too.
Work with you in the future. So,
all right. Thank you so much. I've so enjoyed it. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.